Hi, this video about the reference interview is going to be about the final part of the reference interview, which is communicating the answer that you got, if you got one, and wrapping up the interview, so concluding or closing out the interaction. Um, so it's always good to explain the process that you went through briefly. Sometimes they'll want details, but most of the time they don't. If this is in writing, just some bullet points about places you looked. Sometimes they won't want this, you just have to sort of gauge how much somebody wants. So it's good to keep a lot of notes about your process so that you can kind of summarize them, but be as detailed as you can in your own notes. This is useful to you if you have to go back in a couple weeks, say, and repeat the process. You'll know what you've already done. And you do tend to get, at least in the law firm context, you get the same questions over and over again. So, I mean, this is true in academia too, but so it's good to sort of keep track of that. I always keep, just the way I do it is I keep everything in email. So I make a little memo to the person so I can go back and search my Outlook. It's not the best solution, but it's worked so far. You should point out any problems that you have with the search. So say you have incomplete coverage, and so you're going to be not able to find out a certain piece of the information. It's good to put that in there. Just describe briefly any kind of bias that your sources have. Tell the reason why you picked the sources that you picked, that they were the ones that are available to you. You might even mention that there's some other sources that you don't, that might have this info. It just depends on who you're talking with and the kind of depth of knowledge they want to know about where you've looked. And also, you really have to be clear that the process is ended unless they want to reopen it. So I always do the memo. It's just an email, but it memorializes it, and then just say, let me know if you need anything else, and that kind of closes it up. Because otherwise they may come back at you and say, hey, did you find anything else on that? And you're like, I stopped looking. So you need to make it very clear that you're not going to do anything further. And, leave it up to you to communicate that. But it can be a problem. So you really have to say, okay, this is what I've done. Basically give them the impression you're not going to do anything more with it. So it's good not to overpromise or say, I will keep looking and update you, because it really keeps you on the hook to sort of keep researching this indefinitely, and that can really sink your time, and it really can be kind of awkward for them. They may, if it's somebody you work with, they really may not want you to do that kind of work. So unless they ask you, I wouldn't commit to that. I do think that you should communicate in writing because it is a protection for you. I've had to pull up emails and written memos before and resend them to people because they are saying I did something or I said something that isn't what I said. So, I think most of the time that's not intentional, but people misremember things, and people's sense of time is really not accurate. So they may think, I asked for that 3 weeks ago when it was just the week before. So, or they'll say, you promised me to do this. And it's like, not really. This is what I said I would do. So it can be very, very life-saving. And, you don't have to be, it's kind of difficult to bring up and say, no, actually, but I just do it as directly as possible. Well, no, actually, I only did this a week ago. Here's your email. Sometimes it's hard. And then don't hesitate to refer them to another authority. So this will come up when we talk about the unauthorized practice of law, which is really, I think, the next next week. So if you really feel that they are coming to you and that they may need to get an attorney, or if they've mentioned that, then it's always good to say, I'm not an attorney, or I can't be your attorney. If you need, you need to seek legal help. This is the lawyer referral service. In Texas, they have a free service where they will hook you up with an attorney in that practice area and in your geographical region. Just keep that information handy or in a macro or something and just put it in there. I do it often. In my job now, there's a lot of things that would be, I can give legal advice to the university because I work for them, right? I'm not an attorney for the university, but I can give them advice on, we call it legal information. And that's because it's like I'm an employee, so it's like I'm giving advice to myself. That's why that works. But I can't give advice to a faculty if they're in their own capacity. So especially if the issues involve pitting the faculty against the university. So I work for the university, I don't work for the faculty. And if their stance is going to be adverse or different from the universities, they really need to get an attorney for themselves. And so I actually know someone who practices in this area. They have done work for the university before, but they're an independent attorney. They can take on work. So I will typically say, here's the attorney referral service. I recommend you get an attorney to represent yourself. And if you need an attorney in this particular, who knows something about this particular, here's a person. And it really helps to have a person because it's a little bit less like you're handing things off. Now, there may also be an ethical problem in that you are sort of funneling work to this one person. So I'm very careful to do that only with people who I feel like don't really have an issue that is really adverse to the university. They just need an attorney to deal with their issues, and this is an attorney who I think can deal with these issues. That's something that we can discuss next week, though. That may not actually be the most ethical option, but I've found that it does help people with the trust they have of you, that people don't really want to be handed off, and this kind of helps with that. And so far there have been no issues. I don't have any knowledge of the work that goes on. I leave it there. There is a website for Texas Law Help that can help with it can help with sort of like the public's questions or patrons who have questions about Texas law. It's a really great website, and I believe it is partly created by the State Law Library. I could have that wrong. I haven't been there in a while. And then the State Bar has the lawyer referral service, and I didn't realize that's different from the lawyer referral service of Central Texas. So those are some sources. Have them handy. When I put the PowerPoint of this up, those are big links that you can use. Another point, you may not always be able to give them an answer, but you will need to end the interview. So there's no shame in saying that I don't have the resources to answer this question, or I've been unable to find the answer. There's nothing wrong with that. You can also point them on to other sources that might have it, other libraries, and we all have our specialties, so there's nothing wrong with saying I really just don't have the ability to find this. Always document your work. Protects you. It's good for future reference, and it does help you with statistics, so that's really good.